I think it's time to have a conversation about some Saints trade buzz because, in my opinion, it is definitely heating up as the NFL trade deadline quickly approaches, and the New Orleans Saints currently are sitting at 1-5. Make sure you subscribe to Saints Now by Chat Sports if you want the best content around the black and gold on YouTube. We will go live anytime there's breaking news. If any player gets traded or the Saints trade for a player, we'll make sure you are informed. So lock us in for 100% free Saints coverage by fans for fans. Alrighty, I want to just kind of section this video out into a few different categories. First, I want to start off by talking about players I would trade. And then I'm going to talk about the players that I would keep. And then I'm going to talk about the players you cannot trade due to financial or developmental reasons. But first things first, there is going to be a lot of trade buzz and a lot of interest in a handful of players for the black and gold. And I'm going to tell you, this is part of a rebuild. The Saints have 5 total draft picks right now in this upcoming draft, and they have way more holes on the roster than draft picks they currently have. So for 3 players, I think that they deserve the opportunity to choose what their future entails. First one, Alvin Kamara. Mickey Loomis, it has been reported by Ian Rappaport that Loomis approached Kamara proactively because he was getting some trade interest. And he asked what you would like to do. And Alvin Kamara, being the legend that he is, being my GOAT, being a king, being a loyal member of the New Orleans Saints, sticking around. He said, I want to stay here. And I think that that's really, really awesome. Because a player like Alvin Kamara, sure, you may not be the same guy you once were on the field. And I still think that he has a really nice step. And I still think that he can be a heavy contributor to this team. But he is a player whose impact is much deeper than just a few touches a game, a few catches. He is a New Orleans Saint through and through. He is a Saint for life. And for that reason, I want you guys to get in the comment section, show him some love, type AK41, type 41, whatever you need to do to show him some love because that guy is a legend. Now, 2 other players who I think should have the opportunity to choose. Linebacker Demario Davis. He has been a key part to this defense. And for what it's worth, he's still playing at an extremely high level. So if he wants to go get traded, I do think that you could recoup some nice return. However, he's not a player that I'm interested in moving. I think that he should have the opportunity to decide what he wants to do. Same with Cam Jordan. I think that he's a player who deserves the opportunity to choose whether or not he retires here with the black and gold or if he goes and chases another ring. I think that all of these players, of course, would like to see them go and win a Super Bowl, and I would love for it to be with this team right here. The reality is that's just not going to happen this season. So let's start off this conversation of players I would trade. You're going to hate this. I would trade Chris Olave. I would. At this point, we've had too many drops. At this point, we have not gotten consistent enough production to justify paying Chris Olave wide receiver 1 money. And I'm not saying he can't turn it around. I'm not saying that he can't still be that guy. I actually think if you were to add a big-bodied alpha receiver next to him, it would help him, similar to how when the Eagles added A.J. Brown, it helped Devontae Smith. I actually think that would be the best way to go about it. But if you are not going to pay Chris Olave a massive lucrative deal, you have no business in just letting him walk in free agency. You have to try to get something in return. And so for Chris Olave, I would like to keep him. I think it would be fun to see him be a Saint for life. He has not been good enough to be a wide receiver 1, in my opinion. He has not done enough and been consistent enough to justify paying him an extremely high investment of a contract. Now, a couple other players I would trade. I would consider Trevor Penning. You did not pick up his 5th-year option. Maybe you try to move him, considering he'll be a free agent whenever the offseason gets here. Carl Granderson, he's playing good football. And that's one of those, there's a lot of teams out there right now who their edge rushers are hurt, and they could use a good, reliable player who's experienced. So maybe Carl Granderson is a player who could gauge some interest. For what it's worth, by the way, I'm just now remembering this, Fred Werner suffered an injury. So the New Orleans Saints may be getting a call for Demario Davis from the 49ers because they're going to want to plug in one ultra-reliable linebacker with another ultra reliable linebacker. Just the thought out there. I'm not saying that'll happen, but just a thought. But with Carl Granderson, I think he's somebody that the Saints should consider moving. I don't know if he's a part of the long-term plans. And it's really not so much to do with he's been bad. It's more so he's been good enough to get you at least something in terms of trade interest. And if Chase Young is the guy you are dead set on being your alpha, might as well try to get something in return there. Isaac Yiadom, I would consider moving as well. Pete Werner, I think, is a player I would consider trading as well. I think that he's a guy who just hasn't taken that step for the New Orleans Saints. And in Week 6, we saw Danny Stutzman start some reps and get some run next to DeMario Davis. We even saw Isaiah Stallbird start getting rotated in. So, in my opinion, I take that as a little bit of an audition of, hey, we got some guys who can make some plays. Let's see what they got. At least see if we're comfortable having some conversations. And I'm not saying that you should read too much into it, but you should try to look at it for more than, oh, look, Danny Stutzman's on the field. Like, I think there's a reason for that, and I think there's a reason that we're starting to see that happen more and more. Cesar Ruiz, another player I'm really not happy with. Teams need offensive linemen. Team needs interior guys all the time. And so maybe he could get you something in return. I'm so fed up with him. He's not good. He's not consistent. I'm just tired of it. And so those are some players that I seriously would consider trading. Coming up, we're going to talk about players that I would keep and the players you just cannot trade for financial or developmental reasons. But first things first, King of the Castle. I have a chair. If you need a throne just like Borat, then you should go and get this tailgate chair, chatsports.com/Saints chair. Link is clickable in the comments and description of this video. Trizzy's always got the hookup. You want a chair that was $70 for less than $50. Click the link down below. It's a great gift. It's perfect for a man cave. If you got a kid or a friend who's in college or somebody who likes going fishing or somebody who likes drinking out in the backyard with the fellas, this is a great chair to have. It's ultra comfortable. It's ultra fresh, and you can get it on sale for less than $50. Click the link down below, chatsports.com/Saints chair. Alrighty, so maybe I'm different in my own opinions compared to everyone else. Maybe, just maybe, I'm the only person who thinks this. I don't think I am, though, Lopez. I would keep Rashid Shaheed over Chris Olave. I would. I think Rashid Shaheed's a better deep threat. I think Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave have some very similar skills. And I think Rashid Shaheed would be a much cheaper player. And in terms of trade value in return, I think Olave gets you more in return than Shaheed. And so for all of the reasons I listed why I think Rashid Shaheed should stick around, that's why I'm keeping him. And, maybe I'm a fanboy. Maybe I'm, ridiculous in it. I was a huge fan of Rashid Shaheed the minute we signed him as a UDFA out of Weber State. I mean, you guys can go back and check the tape. I've been high on this guy since the minute he was added to this roster. But at the end of the day, Rashid Shaheed, I think, should be around. I think he should be a part of the long-term plans. Same with Brian Brzee. I think Brian Brzee is a player who has shown more and more growth. And he's a player that can be a quality interior defensive lineman whose role can grow and expand as his career evolves and expands. And he's a player who can be a good contributor in a key part where the Saints have some depth, not a ton, but some depth. I think that Brian Brzee is a high-level player. I like what I've seen from him this year. He is really starting to turn a corner, in my opinion. He's been much better at stopping the run this year, and that's a big area where he has struggled. So number 90, I would like to see continue his reign in New Orleans, and I think that he's a player that I personally would keep. Justin Reed, I would consider holding him onto him. I think when it comes to the safety position, there's a very, very concerning amount of depth there. Of course, Jonas Sanker has been solid, struggled in Week 6, but he's been okay. Jordan Howden has filled in okay here and there, but all in all, the safety room has been not amazing. And to be totally honest, with Julian Blackmon's injury, I think that really just hurt a lot of things. And I don't love the depth that you have behind or outside of Justin Reed. So if you were to trade him, you would be in a pretty bad spot. So Maybe you add him into the category of players you get to choose because he's a hometown guy and he's a veteran. All in all, I'm holding on to Justin Reed. Taysom Hill, I want it on record. At the Superdome, he was announced as the Joker position. Not a quarterback, not a tight end. He was a Joker. So I would keep Taysom Hill purely for the standpoint of he's good vibes. He is at least a bright spot on the team here and there. Inside the 5, you'll probably get a touchdown or probably get a first down. It's pretty nice. That and just the unpredictability that comes with the offense when he's on the field. So I think Taysom Hill is a player I would definitely keep. And I think there's only one team who would be interested in him, and that would be the Denver Broncos. I'm going to be honest right now, Sean Payton, Denver Broncos, there's some trouble in paradise over there. I don't think trading for a Taysom Hill is exactly what they're itching to do right now. One more player, or two more players that I would like to keep long-term, Eric McCoy and Foster Moreau. Eric McCoy, one of the better centers in the National Football League. I think that he's ultra reliable. I think he's a player who should be a part of this long-term plan, especially considering the fact that you won't have to try and find a replacement if you don't trade him. So I think it's going to be hard to improve the center position. I think Eric McCoy needs to be a part of this long-term plan. And Foster Moreau, Louisiana guy. I think he's great for the locker room. I think he's great for the culture. I think he's somebody who's a great leader. I think he's somebody who proved how much he loves this team and loves the sport. When you factor in the recovery he had, suffering an injury in the last 2 minutes of the season last year, and he's already back playing, it's pretty impressive. So I would keep Sheed, Brzee, Justin Reed, Taysom Hill, Eric McCoy, and Foster Moreau. Those are the players that I would keep. Now let's get to the last category, players you can't trade due to financial or developmental reasons. So first one, a lot of y'all have been saying cut Juwan Johnson, trade Juwan Johnson, whatever. So if you were to make a move with Juwan Johnson, if you cut him, you would lose $9 million in 2025. And if you were to cut or trade him, in 2026, you would have a $13.4 million cap hit. Or dead cap, excuse me. Feels like you can't really do that. I know some people are going to sit here and say, eat the money, move on, who cares? The reality is this has been a team that's been trying to get financially stable as a franchise. And now they are close to that. And are they really going to screw themselves just to make a few fans happy? No, they're not. Juwan Johnson, you can't cut him. Financially, it will screw you. It will hurt you. It will do more damage than him dropping passes. And if you want him gone, I'm not here to say you're wrong. I'm not here to blame you. I'm not here to say you don't know anything. I'm more so here to tell you, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to wait at least a little bit. Other players you can't necessarily trade, whether it's financial, developmental, or whatever. Chase Young, I know we've only seen one game of him. What the hell, man? What the hell? 5 games missed because of calf injury. Goes out there, lays a dud, has a few pressures, thanks, but no thanks, no sacks. Really wish that we could get more reliable production out of him. Saints are paying him $17 million a year, I believe. It's yeah, you would think that you'd be getting better sack production out of a player like Chase Young. Unfortunately, you're not. I don't think that it would make sense to cut him or trade him financially, and for the reason that you need edge rushers. Just because they're playing bad doesn't mean you should get rid of all of them. That actually probably won't do much to help out. So Torsilly Simpkins, the UDFA guard, that's another player that I think that you cannot get rid of for developmental reasons more so. He's a UDFA, doesn't cost you much money. But if you want to replace Cesar Ruiz or Trevor Penning, he is a shoo-in to do one of those. So Torsilly Simpkins definitely needs to be around for the long term. I think you can't move on from Kendra Miller. He is showing that he is a great player and he can be a reliable option. And I really think we are just scratching the surface of his abilities. Spit it out, Trace. Spencer Rattler, quarterback. I don't think you should need to cut or trade him either. Because in my opinion, how I would go about this is continue to let Spencer Rattler start games through the bye week. And when you get to the bye week, that's where you can start having conversations about potentially throwing in Shuck. We've seen Kellen Moore multiple times say Spencer's their guy. They're not doing the back and forth thing. But you also have to be realistic. You have to know if you need a quarterback. So how are you going to do that if you don't ever start Tyler Shuck? He's getting time to sit, learn, and develop. Rattler is showing good things. So unless a team throws you an offer you can't refuse, I don't know why you would trade or cut Spencer Rattler. I think it would make more sense to let him continue to be the starter, at least to the bye and maybe through the bye, depending on how things go. And then the QB competition is wide open again in the offseason. I think that's exactly what the Saints will end up doing, and I think that's probably a good way of going about it. I honestly don't love the quarterbacks in this draft class. Just going to keep it real with you. I don't. So I would rather keep Spencer Rattler. Jordan Howden, another player I'd like to keep. I don't think it would make sense to get rid of him. He's been a player who's been nice, and I don't think you would get a lot in return for him. So for the sake of development and having depth, safety's a position that doesn't have a lot of depth there. I don't think trading him would be smart. Kool-Aid McKinstry, a lot of people are fed up with him. A lot of people are getting frustrated with this cornerback. It's no question about it. The Saints need difference makers. The Saints drafted him to be a difference maker, and outside of one game, he hasn't really been a defensive a difference maker. And Talise Fuaga, can't trade him. You cannot trade him. He has been really good. He had a great rookie season. He's showing he's reliable. He's showing he can play on either side. He's showing that he is a player who can be consistent. I think trading him would be malpractice. We didn't mention any of the rookies because we're not going to trade any of the rookies. We're just not even going to have that conversation, so no. But I think Talise Fuaga would be a terrible person to trade. I think that he's a player who is helping solidify the offensive line, and that's been an area that the Saints have struggled at. So don't trade away the players who are helping you. I don't think that would make any sense. That's just my take on it. That's my thoughts. I think that the New Orleans Saints trade buzz is going to continue heating up as the deadline gets closer, and this is a conversation that we will be revisiting. I know y'all don't like talking about it. I don't like talking about it either, but the reality is that's the type of team we are, a rebuilding team. Whether the team wants to admit it or not, this franchise is in the midst of a rebuild. I think they're going about it well, but I think that at least one trade is very realistic to happen. So get in the comments. Let me know who is a player that you would trade. Share your thoughts. Drop a name. And be the GM of today's video. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. If you haven't already, go check out our instant reaction video. We put it out after the game ended. I got really frustrated is maybe a good way to put it. And it's a pretty interesting video. A lot of good insight. The instant reaction is great. And we'll have Overreaction Monday coming out tomorrow morning. Appreciate you guys for hanging out and rocking and rolling with us. This has been our late night edition of Saints Now by Chat Sports. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.